Have you ever asked an artificial intelligence to write an email, summarize a document, or solve a coding problem, and the answer you got back was just, well, generic? Or maybe it just completely hallucinated something entirely unhelpful? If so, you're definitely not alone. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to fix that exact frustration. We are going to transform you from a casual, sometimes frustrated AI user into a totally confident prompt engineer. We're leaning into the official Google Cloud Guide on prompt engineering for AI to learn the step-by-step tactics that absolutely unlock the true power of large language models.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with building your roadmap for AI, put basic prompts into action, upgrade with few-shot prompts, dive into chain-of-thought reasoning, and finally learn how to iterate, refine, and master the craft.
So, kicking things off with Section 1, your roadmap for AI.
According to Google Cloud, prompt engineering is really the art and science of designing and optimizing prompts to guide AI models. And notice that phrasing. It's both an art and a science. The science part? Well, that's the precise formatting, the specific keywords, and the structured logic. But the art is all about your creativity. It's how you define the tone, the context, and the subtle nuances of what you actually need. You see, a prompt isn't just a simple question. It's the very specific input you provide to get a very specific response. It could be a command, a code snippet, or a creative writing sample.
Now, I absolutely love this analogy from the Google Cloud Guide. They say to think of it as providing a roadmap for the AI, steering it towards the specific output you have in mind. Imagine you just drop an AI into the middle of a massive, dense forest of data and say, hey, find me a tree. It's going to grab the very first generic branch it bumps into, right? You have to give it turn-by-turn directions. You got to tell it the tone, the length, the audience, and the constraints. Without that clear roadmap, the AI is, for all intents and purposes, totally lost.
Let's keep moving. Section 2, Basic Prompts in Action. I want you to take a brief second and play along with me here. Imagine you're holding on to a broken piece of Java code, a long article about climate change, and you've got this sudden urge to write a short fantasy story. Just in your head right now, how would you actually phrase those 3 requests? Would you just type, fix this code or summarize this? Let's see what a properly engineered prompt actually looks like. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. For creative writing, a highly engineered prompt isn't just write a story. It's more like write a short story about a young woman who discovers a magical portal in her attic. You see, it gives specific plot points to guide the AI. For summarization, it's summarize the main points of the following news article on climate change. That clearly defines the exact action and the subject matter. And for code debugging, instead of a vague fix this, the prompt is debug the following Java code and explain why it is throwing a null pointer exception. That right there is the secret sauce. You're telling the AI the specific language, the exact error type, and demanding it explain its reasoning.
Okay, ready to level up? Section 3, upgrading with few-shot prompts.
This is where a technique called few-shot prompting comes into play. Basically, this method involves giving the model a few examples of your desired input-output pairs before you present your actual request. Think about the flow here. Input, cat. Output, small furry mammal. Input, dog. Output, domesticated canine. Then, finally, your actual prompt, elephant. By giving the AI these 2 prior examples, you've secretly trained it. You've established a clear pattern. It now knows you definitely don't want a long, rambling Wikipedia article about elephants. You just want a short, clinical, 3-word biological description. You can use this exact trick to demonstrate a humorous tone, a formal tone, or whatever specific level of detail you're going for.
Moving right along to Section 4, Chain of Thought Reasoning.
Here is your second practice challenge. Let's say you're giving an AI a particularly tricky word problem, or maybe you're asking it to classify a highly ambiguous email as either spam or not spam. How do you prevent the AI from just blindly guessing the final answer?
Well, you literally tell it to think step by step. Take this classic example from the Google Cloud Guide. By just appending the magic phrase, solve this problem step by step, you actually force the model to break down its internal reasoning. Step 1, John starts with 5 apples. Step 2, he eats 2 apples, so we subtract 2 from 5. Step 3, 5 minus 2 equals 3. Chain of thought prompting literally guides the model through a logical sequence. It stops the AI from jumping to wild conclusions, which results in a much more comprehensive, well-structured, and accurate final output. You're basically asking the AI to explain its thought process out loud before it hands you the final answer.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, iterate, refine, and master.
Let's look at this through the lens of a real-world project. Imagine you are running an environmental advocacy campaign and you desperately need a compelling essay.
If you start out with a vague, novice prompt, like just saying, write something about climate change, the AI is probably going to hand you a generic, completely unusable mess. But if you iterate and act like a real project manager, you refine that goal. You say, write a persuasive essay arguing for stricter carbon emission regulations. Suddenly, boom, your campaign has real direction.
Now for the next phase of your campaign, you need a strong emotional hook for your social media channels. Your first instinct might be a vague prompt like, write a long poem. But think about it. What does long actually mean? To an AI, that is totally subjective. So, you iterate. You quantify your request, like a true engineer. Write a sonnet with 14 lines that explores themes of love and loss. By giving the AI specific mathematical constraints, you get exactly the right asset your project needs.
This is exactly how our environmental campaign project succeeds, through constant, relentless experimentation. If you don't get what you want on the very first try, you use these tactics. Try rephrasing your prompt using different synonyms. Adjust the level of detail. Sometimes you give the AI way too much background and it gets confused, and sometimes you give it too little. Test out different prompt lengths. And hey, if the AI gives you a response that's almost right, don't start from scratch. Just reply back, that was good, but make the second paragraph a bit more formal and maybe drop the bullet points. Adapting based on that feedback is exactly how you dial in the perfect output and bring your project across the finish line.
So we've covered the basics of context, the magic of few-shot examples, the solid logic of chain-of-thought reasoning, and the absolute necessity of iteration. You now understand that interacting with a large language model isn't just idly chatting, it's a structural design process. So I'm going to leave you with this final question as you head back to your keyboard. Now that you know the difference, will you just talk to AI and accept whatever generic response it spits out? Or will you take control, provide the context, and actually engineer the roadmap? The choice and the ultimate quality of your results is entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy prompting.